was born and raised in Barbados. I went to school at the Erdiston Primary. Whoop, whoop. For all my Erdiston people, it's no longer, but that's one of my fondest memories, and I think the foundation of the life that I have gone on to live. I went from Erdiston Primary into Queen's College, and then on to University of the West Indies, where I started my law degree. And that's where I grew up, and I spent a lot of my formative years dancing with Dance in Africa, and that to me was my entire childhood. Just movement, performance, learning, education, and everything that Barbados has to offer in terms of the lifestyle of sun, sand, and sea. Like when I think of my childhood, that's what I think of. I remember being interested in a wide range of things, but not actually being very certain about what I wanted to be. And my aunt, my dad's twin sister, she called me and she was like, "Listen, you have two options, and these are the options. You could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer. So pick one." And then with her help, I decided that I was going to go the legal route. Everybody thought I should be a lawyer because they said, when you're growing up, they tell you you can argue, or you're very argumentative, you should be a lawyer. And so my family was very encouraging of me, and I did have the grades at school to be able to go to law school. And so that's the path that I chose. And I'm very grateful that she put me on that path, because it very much was aligned for me. Like it very much was in alignment with my personality and my interests, and I flourished a lot in law school. And while in law school, I found myself interested in intellectual property, and I thought I would have become an intellectual property lawyer, but it didn't go that way, because while I was in law school, I was discovered by a talent agent, a model agent from Jamaica, Saint International's Dwight Peters. He found me at Barbados Fashion Week, and from there, everything changed. So, in my last year of law school at Cave Hill, I started traveling back and forth to Jamaica. And then from there, I fully moved to Jamaica, and then went from Jamaica to New York, from New York into South Africa, and my whole career started at that point. So backtracking a little bit, how I became a model. Also, so it's very interesting. I think each path that I took in my formative years, I was led into. I didn't actively make that choice. So my cousin Jose was very interested in modeling, and she wanted to audition for Barbados Fashion Week, and she asked me to come along with her. And I didn't, in fact, think that I would have been chosen, because at that time in the modeling industry, the standards were very strict. So you had to be 5'9" and above in order to be a model, and your stats had to be very particular. And I was on the shorter side. I'm 5'8", so I didn't think that I would have been chosen. And then plans happen differently. So I was chosen to be a part of Barbados Fashion Week, and that was the beginning of my modeling career. But I must say, prior to even going to Barbados Fashion Week, I had done a couple shoots in Barbados. I started helping out Tony Thorne with when she first started her fashion label. Um, and I was the face of that for her. And so I had done a couple of things beforehand, but Barbados Fashion Week was really what catapulted me into a career. So in 2009, how did I get into Miss Barbados World? By that time, I had been modeling for about 4 years. So I had traveled the world, and I was living in between South Africa. I was traveling back and forth to New York, and modeling throughout the Caribbean. And I was on a trajectory. And I think being on that trajectory just, I guess, brought me into orbit with persons that were very influential in getting me to enter Miss Barbados World. I had never thought of myself as a pageant girl, because back then I was very what I wouldn't have considered myself a very feminine girl. I was very kind of rugged and tomboyish my entire childhood, although I was a dancer, which is contradictory in itself. But that's really how I was. And so entering the pageant was a challenge for me. And when I finally decided to enter, I think what really got me into it was the charity component of the pageant, being able to do something and give back. Because for me, I wanted it to mean something more than just parading on a stage. For me, I couldn't justify that within myself. And so the charity aspect of the pageant got me into it, and then I fell in love with that part of it. And um, we did. Then I ended up winning Miss Barbados World, and then went on to the Miss World pageant with the help of Richard Haynes and Vic Fernandez at the time, because they really were able to help me pull together a campaign and pull together and prepare me for a pageant that, and prepare me in a way that allowed me to perform at the pageant at the way that I was able to perform. So I went to the Miss World. We traveled between London, Abu Dhabi, and Johannesburg that year. And we had multiple competitions, and I placed within the top 10 of all the competitions at Miss World. And then my charity won third place, and I won Continental Queen of Beauty for the Caribbean that year as well. I won People's Choice Awards and a bunch of other awards as well. And it was truly a phenomenal experience. It really opened up my eyes to the world out there, like what being able to use your platform to do so much more and to grasp the attention of so many people and create impact among so many people. And so that really charged the way for everything that came after that. It was phenomenal. I would say the Miss World, being a part of the Miss World pageant was truly transformational for my life. Um, Growing up in Barbados, although I was a performer with Dance in Africa, there were still aspects of my personality that weren't fully developed, like my confidence. I didn't see myself as being able to stand on a world stage and use my voice and to speak in a way to carry a country behind me until I performed at the Miss World in the Miss World pageant. And we traveled to all those different places, being exposed to all those different cultures with beauty queens from, I think it was over 120 countries that year. And I think that really showed me the potential of a small island like Barbados and what we could do. And I came back home after the pageant. I continued with my charity, the Love Campaign, and I continued to pour into. At that time, I was very passionate about Barbados and our social issues. So, the my charity, the Love Campaign, was benefiting the HIV food bank. And as I was doing that and going through that, I think Julia Morley, from the owner of the Miss World pageant, she was very impressed with the Love Campaign, and I believe at that time, her and Stephanie Chase, who was the owner of the Miss Barbados World franchise at that time, they had conversations and they decided that they thought that I would have been the best fit to carry it on. And it was interesting because when they offered it to me in 2011 to take up the franchise, I had just started uh, law school in Trinidad in at Hugh Wooding, and that was after my reign. I had decided, okay, I should probably go back to school and finish my law degree, and so I did that. And a year later, they offered me the franchise, and it was a big decision. I knew it was an important decision though, because I didn't think that anything like that coming to a 24-year-old was, happenstance. And so I knew I had to do it, but I had to be very intentional about that decision. And so I decided to take up the charge, and I partnered with Tashida Calendar, and she, myself, and a colleague of mine, Charmaine Deno, she's an attorney now as well in Barbados. The three of us came together and we made Miss Barbados World happen. And it was our intention to really put on a pageant that filled all the gaps. So after me being a queen and understanding what was missing and the attitude that we need to build to perform on the world stage, I wanted to create a pageant that filled all those gaps. And so it was our intention to uplift everything and to really train the girls in a particular way. And so that's how that happened. 4 years of owning the franchise, 4 years of producing four amazing queens for Barbados.
keep it green.
Barbadians, we invite you to get involved and play your part as we clean and green Barbados. Come into your community with media launches, bulk waste collection exercises, community engagement sessions, and giveaways. Get on board. Let's keep Barbados clean and green.
Beautiful, beautiful Barbados.
Modeling has changed my life tremendously. I think starting, it was the gateway to a lot of other things that I didn't know lived within me. A lot of potential that I didn't know lived within me. To be honest, growing up, you live your life looking outwardly. You don't really live your life looking back at yourself. And so growing up, my only concern was how I did in school, showing up to dance rehearsals, which really took over my entire life as a child, um, and performing in life in that way. And I think it was modeling that allowed me to understand myself in relation to the world and how to use that platform and how to be, an ambassador for my island. Because at the time that I started modeling, there weren't many Barbadian models on the scene. In fact, a lot of the models were from Jamaica at that time. And so I had to constantly educate people on where Barbados is, who we are as a people, what our culture is. And I became very passionate about my island, and I became passionate then about my platform. And that opened me up to so many things, to being able to say yes to Miss Barbados, to being able to attend tourism conferences to speak on behalf of my country, to be able to say yes to being a TV host, um, and traveling the world, to be able to say yes to charity missions that took me to places like Ethiopia and Kenya and Uganda. It really just was a gateway that opened up my life for this global, almost trajectory of sorts. Wellness has been a part of my career because wellness has been a part of my life. Um, when part of my story that I tell, but it's really the part of my story that has paved my entire life is at 11 years old, I lost my father to cancer in what seemed to me in a very sudden way. And you go to any therapist or any psychologist telling you a child losing a parent at that young age, there's a certain set of personality traits that they would take up. So they become hyper focused or disciplined in one area and almost like very rigid. And also for me, I grew up with a lot of anger. So even though I was very active and I was, again, dancing and I was modeling and I was doing a lot of things, I was still very angry at that loss. And I was still very confused about a lot of things. And I was navigating the world with what felt like, I don't know, with what felt like a very skewed outlook on life, just because that part of my family life was taken away. And also at 18 years old, I lost one of my best friends as well to cancer. And it was at 18 that I realized that um, I was very affected by death, in that I had stopped crying. So I taught myself how not to cry and things like that. And so I went through my entire 20s trying to figure that part of myself out, even though I was a high achiever. And I became a high achiever because of loss. Um, but also in that achieving, you're taking yourself away from yourself sometimes. It's easy to escape when you have all these opportunities and you're traveling here and you're traveling there. It's easy not to sit with yourself. And so I think I had always known in the back of my mind that there was a healing journey that I needed to be on. But then my public facing life also took me to a place where I was constantly helping people. So I was training girls for pageantry. I was doing the Love campaign. I had started a talent management company and I was managing models and fashion designers and artists. And so and then I was a lawyer, and as a lawyer, you are the ultimate problem solver, and you are always taking people's lives into your own hands. Um, in addition to that, when I first started modeling and living in Jamaica, I also had a job at the Human Rights Council in Jamaica where I was taking care of death row inmates, their appeal cases. And so I had to sit and interview uh, prisoners for all throughout Jamaica. I've been to every prison in Jamaica. And so I think all those things came together in my life to really help me focus on people first, and being very interested in understanding people and how they operate and navigate the world, and what makes people uh, tick, and what helps them succeed, sorry, and what holds them back. And then when I turned the lens on me to heal um, my own issues and my own trauma, then I pulled all those things together, understanding people, but understanding myself in relation to the world. And I think that really put me on a path to wellness. And then in 2017, I decided to go into deep therapy. And so I did a lot of training, a lot of therapy during that time, over like a 5 or 6 year period. And then that really opened me up to wellness. After that, after 2017, I decided that I was going to change my life. I was living in Trinidad at the time. And I had never said this, but I also had an event that happened in Trinidad, and I was robbed at gunpoint. That incident changed my life. In that's the point where I made a decision to do my life completely different. And so that's what led me into the deep healing and training and therapy. And then shortly the year after that, in 2018, I decided to move to LA, which had long been a dream of mine since I started coming in 2008, hosting the BET Awards for Caribbean television and stuff like that. So I just started choosing myself. And then on that journey, I decided to, while living here in LA, which is a very tough city. LA is not easy. It's not for the faint at heart. And also being an immigrant is not easy. It comes with a lot of challenges, but it also opens you up to your own resilience. And during this time here, while being a model, I decided that I was going to continue to use my platform, but to, in this time, use it in a way that I could help people heal. And so I started a podcast that allowed, to share inspirational stories and stories of hope, but while having very real conversations about life and the things that we all battle with in life. And then that just continued to unfold. I became a certified coach, as well as I'm now studying neuro-linguistic programming and holistic medicine, and all in an attempt to launch my coaching practice so that I can help people understand themselves, mind, body, spirit, emotionally, and just help them heal. Just help us live in ourselves, live in our body in a better way, live in our minds in a better way, but then also just help us live in society in a better way. So that's how my healing journey kind of unfolded and came about. Receiving the Vanguard Award from the Caribbean American Heritage Awards in Washington was incredibly affirming. And it was amazing. It was an amazing opportunity. The Vanguard Award is given to people under 40 who have contributed in excellence and leadership to the Caribbean community. Previous Vanguard Award holders would have been the gentleman that developed, a microbiologist that developed the spit test for COVID. And then, other awardees would have been persons that closer to home would have been like Owen Arthur, Marshall Montano, Anya Youngchi, as well as Alison Hines. And so to be honored with those people is an honor for me as well. And it came at a time in my career where I've just been head down working and building this, using my platform as a model as well to build this wellness company. And, just on the heels of launching my 2024 planner, which is here in the back of me. And that it came out of the blue. So For me, it was just affirming. It's a reminder that as um, someone told me that, all the work has not gone unseen, and that two decades of work, even though you're not living with it every single day, it continues to live out in the world, and it continues to impact people's lives. And that, you know for me, it just reminds me that I need to continue to be in service, and continue to follow my path and my purpose. And along the way, you'll be recognized for the work that you do. So it really was an honor and an opportunity to just affirm everything that I've already done and where I hope to go in the future. So I'm currently working on launching my coaching practice. I will continue to model and live here in Los Angeles, but I think eventually I will pivot into a full-time coaching practice. I have my personal development and productivity planner, which is a tool that is meant to be accessible to anybody who wants to tap into their own personal growth. And I offer coaching along with that. And then just working with, currently here in Los Angeles, I volunteer with a nonprofit organization to integrate wellness education into schools. And I'm hoping to be able to champion that type of cause in the Caribbean and back home, so that we can get our youth from a very young age understanding how everything in their life works together, their mind, body, spirit, how that all works together to make them healthier, so that we can reduce the amount of youth suicide and mental health issues, and just really build stronger youth and stronger individuals to continue to champion the excellence that we are known for in Barbados and across the Caribbean.